BDS presents the HypeHour with your hosts Andrew Catapano and Kelly Campbell, featuring special guests Dina Gazarian, Lynetta Pezzatini, and Josh Looper. Today's topic, Connected Commerce Part 1. Let's get started. Here are your hosts.
All right.
Hello, Kelly, and welcome to Season Deuce.
We are here.
We are here and we are back. We are kicking off Season 2 with the HypeHour, and so excited that the first topic is something that I am very passionate about. Connected commerce and how it supports the new buying experience. Great to see you as always, Kelly, and welcome to Season 2.
Yeah, very excited about today's topic. We have some wonderful guests coming on, right?
And it's St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day. This is my version of green. I did the best I could, if that's okay with you.
I got a little green behind me. We used to have green walls in our office. As most people would know, BDS is known for its green. So this is also a little bit our day too.
We are known for our green. So happy St. Patrick's Day.
You too.
Okay. So this season, we'll be exploring how the omni-channel has evolved into connected commerce. And all the channels you should be including in your go-to-market strategy, starting today with virtual and live selling. And we got some great guests to talk about virtual and live selling. But what are we going to do? We're going to explain what connected commerce is and what the new buying journey looks like, okay? Or the adapted buying journey. You're going to hear straight from some leadership and company experts, as you always do here on the HypeHive. Founded right before COVID, and she had to pivot very specifically on what she did with her go-to-market strategy and some of her product offerings, and I think you got the privilege of interviewing her. And then we'll dive into some deep ways where we can use the virtual world, and we got a really surprise guest. Low energy, though. He is low energy. But we got some special surprise guests that we're going to talk about some real-world virtual experiences that are direct-to-consumer video-first strategies. But ultimately, as we do every time in the HypeHour, we want you to leave with something. This is not just jargon and talk, and we want you to get some real world things. So I'm going to try my best, as you do, Kelly, to drill it down, give some takeaways, and have our audience leave with some things they can do today that's right for their brand.
Absolutely.
Who do we have on today, Kelly?
Wow, we have such the lineup today. I'm so excited about a lot of our guests. We have a range of people joining us for the hype today. We have Dina Gazarian, CEO and founder of Austere. Very excited to have her on and her interview. And then Lynetta Pezzatini, VP of Experiential at MAG, which is our experiential division. I mean, she's just amazing, full of ideas. I cannot wait to talk to her more. And then the man, Josh Looper, he is so excited.
I am excited too, Kelly. So let's just jump right into it. And I love the guests we have on the show. We're going to have some fun. Connected commerce.
Quick reminder before we jump in. Quick reminder. Don't forget to comment in the comments area below. If you have a question, if you want to know more about something, feel free to jump into the conversation. We are here to help you guys at the end of the day. So feel free to ask away.
Awesome. Kelly, we're going to jump right into it.
Yeah.
Let's define connected commerce. But instead of us doing it, let's hear directly from the president of BDS Marketing, Mr. Sean Ludick, who most recently in his keynote series on LinkedIn, Building the Shopper Journey for Tomorrow, he explained in really cool layman's terms what connected commerce means. Because as we know, in 2020, we saw an abundance of channels open up. We saw new ways to connect with our audience. But let's start the show with defining what connected commerce is from our keynote, from the keynote address of our president, Mr. Sean Ludick. Do we have that keyed up?
We have preached omnichannel for years, but today, my question is it enough? As you all know, We need to be where our customers are. We need to be there for them on their terms, when and how they want to engage. Omnichannel has evolved to be more. Just being present in every channel isn't enough. It's how you connect and merge the channels to the one thing that matters, the customer. Today, connected commerce is Omnichannel 2.0, and it's the future of retail. How do we define connected commerce? It's a seamless and personalized integration of online and in-store that enables consumers to shop, purchase, and receive goods on their terms, wherever, whenever, and however they want. Many retailers like Warby Parker have seen and experienced this shift firsthand. It's a convergence of many where the experience and path to purchase becomes seamless. Using that connected commerce frame of mind, we can't ignore the massive role that mobile and especially video plays in all of it. There's no denying that the pandemic sped up mobile adoption. That transformation is incredible when you think about it. But what does it mean for retail? The more mobile users there are, the more opportunities there are to innovate the way we buy and sell.
Awesome. Very cool, very easy layman's terms, and easy to understand. Thank you, Mr. Sean Ludick. I lost audio, guys. I lost audio on Kelly. Sorry about that. Kelly, if you could still hear us, everyone can still hear me.
You know what? Technical difficulties.
There we are. We're back
on mute.
That's live. That's live. Oh, come on, Kelly.
Isn't that the saying of meetings in this day and age? Is that, oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Kelly, what we talked about before the show, not to break your train of thought, but we talked before the show what the word of 2021 is going to be. We didn't decide whether it's hybrid or pivot, and I'm going to go with pivot. Good pivot. Let's pivot right back into the show. Good pivot. I know. There. I was on mute. And that's going to go down, I think, in history as the top said word in companies in 2020. Sorry, I was on mute. I'm going on the record. So. That was the number one. Kelly, go ahead.
That was a casualty of that today.
Well, with that, I think my biggest takeaway from Sean Ludick, and then we're going to get in a little deeper as I get into the connected commerce piece of it, and a little bit of an explanation, a little bit of a breakout session where I talk about my LinkedIn article that I posted leading up to this series on connected commerce. But the coolest thing that Sean said, connected commerce is an integrated experience that allows transactions to happen anytime, anywhere, on any device.
Yes.
Period. That's connected commerce. So when we talk to our guests today, and we talked about pivoting, and we talk about connecting to our customers anywhere on any device and perfecting that customer experience, I think Dina has a great story of how she started her journey, where she began, and how she pivoted in order to identify and connect with that customer. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, before we move on to Dina, I just want to say that Sean Ludick has a brand new LinkedIn series coming out this week and next week and going forward. Super excited about it. It is all about building the shopper journey for tomorrow. So make sure to tune in on LinkedIn to his channel for that. Go follow him on LinkedIn for more insights like what we just saw today about connected commerce. He's talking about a lot of different trends there. So make sure to go tune in for that. But yeah, I think moving into the interview with Dina, it's just been, her journey has been so interesting to follow. And we'll sort of talk about that in a little bit. And I think the biggest thing is definitely, talking about this evolution of omnichannel to connected commerce. And, it's not just a matter of being in all the channels at the same time, but how do you connect them together, right? You have to be a lot more thoughtful going into it. And that's a big ask, right? So I think I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that today with everybody, not only Dina.
Have fun with it. Good luck.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, today I'm super excited to share the conversation that I had with Dina Gazarian, founder and CEO of Austere. She actually joined us virtually previously to talk about how she grew a successful business in the midst of a pandemic, and how the buying journey has transformed, especially for their brand at retail. She is a recognized expert and leader in the consumer tech space, and her journey has been one that I have personally been following since she walked into our BDS office for a brainstorm session many years ago. With her 25 years of experience in manufacturing, sales, and marketing, combined with her passion for great style, Dina is building Austere into a unique brand within the consumer technology market. You absolutely need to go check out Austere's beautiful product. Their aesthetic approach is evident in every aspect of the design, from how it looks on the shelf to its packaging. But in addition to serving as CEO of Austere, Dina is also a managing partner at Target Path LLC. And before founding Austere, she played an integral role in building a number of the world's most recognizable tech brands, including Monster Products and Beats by Dre. And if that wasn't enough, long list, Dina serves on the Consumer Technology Association's board of industry leaders and the subcommittee for diversity and inclusion. So, without further ado, let's watch what Dina had to say on her business journey. Here she comes. Welcome.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome to have you here. I'm so excited to talk to you more about Austere and what you guys are doing over there and just your journey and where you sort of see it going. So first of all, just tell us about Austere. How did it come about and how has it evolved?
Absolutely. So Austere is it took about a year to get the brand to kind of come to life. Interestingly enough, it wasn't even something that I was thinking of doing. You had mentioned in the unbelievable introduction. Thank you, Kelly. I'm going to take you with me everywhere I go from now on, by the way. As a managing partner in Target Path, we would bring brands to market. That is what we would do, and we would support them and help them not only with our strategy and expertise, but even doing the work in a fractional way of bringing those brands to market and interacting with some of the best retailers and distributors all over the world. And at one of the many CES shows a couple years back, a bunch of those retailers sat us down and said, there's a hole in the market from the space that you did a lot of work in over your career. We really want you to go create a brand to help us drive it. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I haven't been in this space for a while. I have to do some homework to even see if it's, still something relevant. And could we make a difference? Like, I'm such a big believer in you have to understand what it is the consumer wants and desires. And if you can make something that in general solves a problem for them, maybe one they know about, or maybe even one that they don't, then you have something special. But without that, like it's just, there's effort that's really kind of, in my opinion, meaningless. And I'm pretty, authentic that way in the way that we talk and address and everything that I've ever done. So it was pretty meaningful to me that if we were going to build something, it had to make a difference. Yeah. So we did a lot of homework. And when I mean a lot of homework is we talked to a lot of consumers, people who know about tech, people who don't. We spent a lot of time with our retailers who wanted us to bring this brand to life and talking to them and their needs and also the needs of their consumers. And that's where we got a lot of access to talking to people live. And it really did come back where the consumer was resonating that they are willing, no matter what, actually, they are willing to spend money on something that they believe is adding value to what it is they're trying to achieve in their experience. And that actually happens even more so in tech. So what was interesting about that conversation was, all right, if we do something and we make something that is meaningful and valuable to you, what does that look like? And the number one that came through was design, and how critical design was in not only their home and what the home looked like. And some of the, there's a lot of great brands that started bringing hardware to market that were really gorgeous and stunning, and it was making a difference for the customer. And so they wanted to see more of that across other categories. So that to us was, well, if we were going to do something and leverage the best of innovation and technology, let's collaborate with design and see what we can bring to the table that makes it even stronger in the accessory space. And just one of the things in my background that, though, yes, I've been in sales and tech for a good 20 plus years, I actually started in fashion. So design has always been in my blood. Yeah, it's always been in my blood. It's always been something that there's just, it's so important to me. And when you look at the consumer today, and what they were telling us is their home and their experience in their home and the way they look was just as important to them as what they put on themselves to get dressed. What they actually, coordinate within their car, within their look, within their office space when they would go to work. So it really made a lot of sense that if we were going to go tell the story, we wanted to leverage design in the process, but deliver some of the best technology at the right price possible. Yeah. And that's where we started. And then we went into a pandemic and then everything.
No one expected that one, right?
No, I could not have picked that. Correct.
But it probably worked out in your favor, right?
I mean, we didn't know at first.
Yeah.
Honestly, we were scared. I mean, we weren't even a year selling. So we started shipping product in July of 19, had product on the floor with our key partners in August and September and October as they would roll out. And then, you hit March, you're like 6 months in and you're like, all right, everyone in the world is shutting down. Like we were in the process of rolling out a key retailer in London. That all went on hold. Like there was just so much that paused. And by the way, rightfully so. Yeah. And then the next thing you knew, we're all kind of locked away at home. And the consumer being the consumer was like, all right, I'm trying to work again. I'm staring at the same four walls every day now. By the way, that is my own home. Ew. Yeah. I'm going to make a difference and change it and step up. And from there, things just changed. We were associated with essential retailers. And because we were associated with essential retailers, we became a very active part of the conversation of the consumer who was literally reinvesting, rightfully so, in their home. And since they couldn't go on vacation and they couldn't spend money on other things, the home became kind of the center of the universe. And, we got to help tell part of that story for a better experience, which we were thrilled to do.
Yeah, we call it the stay-at-home economy, right? Like it became a thing of its own and had a life of its own. So it's exciting to hear that you guys have been sort of part of that, building that economy at home. And I know I had those realizations working from home. All of a sudden, all the things that I had at my desk, I didn't have anymore. And all of the high-speed cables that I needed, I didn't have. So I know we invested personally in a lot of that in our own home. So I know a lot of other consumers have probably felt that as well.
We did, yeah, we did too. But my story was probably slightly different than yours in that you were looking at your desk saying, "Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, I need to invest." Mine was my husband and I actually attempted to share an office for about a week, and then that was like, all right, I need my own office space. Yeah. And then boom, right? So it was just. I think there was a lot of different stories that are comical now, but frustrating at the time.
Yeah,
people just trying to figure out, how am I going to make life work right now with all of this craziness?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so that sort of leads me to my next question. What have been some of the biggest challenges, but then also some of the successes? Can you tell us a little bit more about that for your business?
I can. I would say, with China shutting down first, from a supply chain and production standpoint, it was extremely challenging. Yeah. We were fortunate in that I had made some decisions for the business completely irrelevant of the pandemic, but probably more in line with the tariff challenge that had come into play before the pandemic, of kind of switching around factories, and had made a decision to pull inventory sooner than I probably would have into the States, which ended up benefiting us and the consumer long term. But it wasn't because we were smart and strategic. It was almost kind of like luck that we ended up in that position in a good way. But I will say, I mean, these ramifications on supply chain are massive. It's still going on. Just for the average consumer to understand how the supply chain worked before was there was just this beautiful rhythm of containers going back and forth, hitting the right ports that they needed to. And when the pandemic happened, that halted and containers ended up where they shouldn't. So the whole kind of logistics of what that looks like has really kind of messed up a lot. And that's just in freight and getting goods over. When it comes to production and labor and finding the people to make at the levels that were pre-pandemic, it's been tough. So, you know, being there for the consumer, which was critical to us, has really been okay. The people who kind of went into business with us is who we've stayed pretty true to as well. So we didn't want to add a lot of people. We wanted to stay with our partners that were servicing the consumer well, so we could actually keep them in stock and make them strong to the consumer, which was really important. And if you look at what goes on in the channels, you know, a lot of retailers were suffering massively because of the pandemic. And so we just felt like being a good partner was being there for them and not kind of over, distributing ourselves to partner with them. I mean, we looked at things internally about freight and like lowering some of our levels for our partners just to make it easy for them, because everyone was in a tough position. And you could have either taken the route of me, or you could have taken the route of us. And so that's kind of the way that we looked at it too, because that's just as critical to the way we do business as it is to making sure that the consumer is taken care of too.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because it really does feel like we all went through this together. And
100%.
You couldn't come out of this, worrying about, just your business. It is your partners. It's all of us together. We're all invested in this and trying to come out of it successfully together. So I love that you said that. It's interesting that you talk about this sort of shifting channels, and I know supply chain is sort of the behind the scenes that no one even thinks about, or the average consumer definitely doesn't think about when they're trying to pull that product off of the shelf. But at BDS, we're seeing this shift in the channel dynamic, and it's not just omni-channel really anymore. It's more about being present with like these different channels and how you connect those together, and to further your business and then also the business of your partners as well. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the different channels that you currently have going on. You've mentioned retail, obviously supply chain, but from online to offline, how are you sort of connecting those together?
Yeah, I would say that, I went to market with this brand with kind of the group that brought me to the table, if that makes sense. And that catered around a regional specialist that has a sales assisted floor, generally with a salesperson, male, female, who is interested in educating the consumer on what it is they need. And that is where we generally are very successful in the brand and the storytelling, and making sure that the customer is given the information they need, but not pressured to purchase. It's still ultimately their decision, but it's still really our job to educate so they know what it is they need. And by the way, that's not something we just created. If you look at what's gone online in regards to e-commerce, it's exactly what the customer is looking for, right? That's why the reviews are so critical. That's why even today, reviews are starting to get a bad rap, because they're not sure how authentic they are and what that looks like. And by the way, as a consumer, I completely respect that. So having different avenues has been, I think, critical to our success, but also being in an environment where someone can talk to why the brand is special and the value that you're getting out of it has definitely allowed us to succeed. I think the customer, though, it's interesting. I do think, there's been obviously a lot of retail that has changed over the last couple of years, and what we were used to in regards to retailers is, no longer there. Kelly, as you know, Fry's has been around forever. Just yesterday announced that, they're not. And let me tell you, I know that team top to bottom at that organization. They're wonderful, amazing people, but the model just didn't make sense. But I anymore, right? But I do think the customer isn't strictly online either. I think they want balance of where they want it and how they want it that day, and it could change, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So to your point, like as a brand, you have to put yourself with the best education tools you can and all of those places for the consumer. So we look at things, and again, we're an attachment. So on top of all of that, we're never the primary. Like nobody wakes up and says, ooh, I'm gonna buy an HDMI cable today, right? We go out with the sale of the hardware. So because of that, you know, you have a harder story to tell. And so content has become so critical for us, but then leveraging that content into the right training. So whatever the consumer is seeing online to help educate them is exactly the same content that we use to educate the sales team. So it's not, you know, it's really that same authentic story of here's the value, here's the technology that you're getting from that. Here's a better look and feel that's bringing that to the table. And by the way, half of the functionality comes from that better design. And then if you choose to buy it, great. If not, at least you've been educated to know why you need it, and you can make the decision when you need to make the decision for you. Yeah. So that's kind of how we look at it and the way that we address the channels to do so.
That's awesome. I mean, it's definitely, we're seeing that too. You know, the consumer is really at the center of it, and they just want to be able to shop wherever, whenever, however, right? So I think it's great that you say that, because we're seeing the same thing here at BDS, which sort of leads me to the next question. You know, how do you see the retail journey shifting in the next 1 to 2 years? Are there some big trends that you're already starting to notice on your guys' end when it comes to retail and how that's quickly, transforming?
I do. So what I would say, we as a consumer, and I'm going to collectively kind of throw us all in there. I think we are going to be, though shopping at traditional retail will still be there, I think we're all going to be a little hesitant. And I don't mean from shopping, like going into a store, but more from an experiential standpoint. And so I do, touching things and or getting demos for, I think there's going to be a little hesitant consumer in the stores, and I fully respect that. I'm that way. I guarantee you I will be that way too. So I do think that video content and the leveraging of QR codes and doing more of that in the store is something I've started to see, as well as I think the consumer's finally getting used to it. And you can honestly thank restaurants for that, because the only way you get a menu is if you scan a QR code, right? There's no way you're getting handed a menu anymore for a while. So
innovators right there.
Right. So I do see that already have started in regards to the change at retail. I do see more of what I would call a clienteling type of experience probably starting to happen in regards to, your private shopper, setting up appointments, kind of getting a little bit more one-on-one time versus kind of this like mass shopping experience. I see some of that starting to pop up, and customers feeling safe in that environment, and then in turn getting great one-on-one time with someone who's educated about the experience. So I see some of that happening as well. But then for those who are completely like online, only way to go, it is all about your content, and more importantly, what is it authentic in the way that you're bringing it across? Because the consumer is not foolish. They can sniff anything that is not legit. And by the way, good for us, because that's how it should be. That's why it's interesting to watch how Instagram and TikTok influences so much, because it is so raw and so authentic. Generally, that's where you get some of your best results.
Yeah, I know that I find when I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed that I'm constantly pausing on the ones that seem real, right? The content that seems like they're telling me their personal story and letting me into their lives. So I think it's really interesting that you say that authenticity really catches our eye, because we want to feel that connection. And we know when something feels staged or inauthentic, and it's not that real connection. So we've always said that. I've always said that too. So it's nice to know that you see the same thing.
Yeah, and God, if there was ever a time that you really want to connect to somebody, it's right now. Don't get me wrong, I love my family. I'm sick of connecting with my the three other people that live in my household.
Yep.
And I think and that's crazy to say as a mom. You would think, oh, my children, I love and adore them, but
yes.
Oh my goodness, when it's the same people every day, you need an outlet, and that's why that's become so critical.
Absolutely. Well, so tell us, maybe you can give us a little sneak peek, but what is next for Austere? What can we look forward to? Can you give us a little hint of what's to come?
Absolutely. We are going to stay focused on the home. It's kind of what brought us into this space, and I think we're going to stay true to it. I think there's a lot of opportunity of our three categories we do business with. We break it down. Cable's kind of like the nervous system. It's what sends the information from the source to the TV, or basically from anywhere in your body to the brain to be able to process. So you need cables. Cables are pretty critical, and so we're going to offer some of the better 8K as it continues to develop. Gaming obviously leading a lot of that, but we'll have longer lengths and things like that are coming into play on cable. But Power and Clean, which are our other two divisions, are probably where we'll see the most growth. What's interesting about Power, and the consumer was never really taught, I think, this well. And by the way, the reason why I feel confident in saying that is I've sold Power for 20 years and I was never training on this. So I can only imagine when you start your own company, you kind of look twice and you're like, oh my gosh, I really have to talk about this.
Yeah.
Surge protection, if you buy the right surge protection, it has a certain amount of joules, and the joules are really what absorbs the energy from a surge. So if it's a brownout, a blackout, a lightning strike, I know lightning strikes are the most dramatic ones that everybody knows about, but those little that go on in your home all day long when the air conditioning kicks on or when the heater kicks on, those are those little surges that device is saving of your components every time. It takes kind of that little bit of a hit in order to save the components and or lengthen the life for as much as you would have paid for that product. And it's limited to amount of joules, and those joules run out. And when those joules run out, when you get those surges, if there's nothing there to take the hit, then the device potentially could heat up and or melt and or catch on fire.
We don't want that.
No. And so it's one of those things where, like, when we really started digging into Power and said, okay, how are we going to educate on this story? And then you really realize what's going on. I was like, all right, I need to change every power device in my house. Because, like, how long is the one besides my bedside that's attached to, my bed that has fabric that can catch on fire like that? How long has that one been sitting there? Okay, if you can't remember, I guarantee you it's been 10 years.
Yeah.
And most of these devices really aren't even set up to last more than like 3. Yeah. But nobody's educating. So we're not only are we coming out with better products that will design-wise will sit better in a bedroom or your kid's room and or a home office, a kitchen. We're really still trying to continue the education of why you need power in order to protect your products, how it extends the warranty of the goods that you buy, and then more importantly, how to keep yourself safe and your family safe. So there's a lot of cool, like slim, much tighter power that you'll see that comes out. And then on our Clean product, the antibacterial solution that we make in our current goods have been a lifesaver for the pandemic. So we're looking at leveraging other products such as a wipe that can be leveraged on any of your devices that is bio. Wow. We're really big into sustainability at Austere as well. So we're looking at biodegradable materials. So if it gets thrown away, it actually could dissolve itself after about 12 to 18 months. So it doesn't impact the environment. Yeah. And then we're looking at appliance clean as well. So you could clean, with that antibacterial, the stainless steel surfaces that are throughout everybody's kitchen and maybe glass top counterware, granite. So some of those things that are just further catering to the home and the experience and doing it with beautiful looking designed product that really has, the amazing functionality to back it up.
Wow. I'm excited for some of those products personally.
Thank you. We'll make sure you get to test those out for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, so many great insights today, Dina. I just can't thank you enough for joining us. And it's a pleasure to have you on here and just share your journey and where you've been and where you're going with Austere. I can't wait to see what comes out of the next year for you guys. It'll be very exciting.
Thanks, Kelly. I was going to say it's been a wild ride. I tease all the time. We help. So for a lot of my career, I've helped bring brands to market. And when you do it for a while and you're like, okay, great, I have so much experience. And then you go into a tariff war and a pandemic, you're like, all right, I'll just set all that experience aside because this one is probably by far the worst.
Exactly.
In the last year. Yeah. So we're thrilled to be here still and trying to make a difference. So we couldn't be more grateful.
Well, thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you later.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Kelly. Thanks for doing this for the industry too. It's fantastic.
No problem. We're excited about it. So we can't wait to do more of these.
Good. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Wow. So many wonderful things. That was great. Now I know we're not seeing your camera for a second, Andrew, but I can hear you. So I hope everybody else can hear you. But while we're getting Andrew's camera back up a little bit, one of the great things about working with Austere for that interview is that they also gave us a little gift to share with you all today. So for all of our viewers right here, you can get 20% off Austere products with the code DiscoverAustere, all one word. We're going to throw it up at some point in the stream, but Discover Austere, we'll also put it in the chat in big caps as well. So just visit their website to redeem and pick a product that you like and use the promo code there. So anyways, from there, while we still get Andrew's video back up, I guess it's just me now, so now you have to deal with me. I'm actually going to introduce Josh here until we can get Andrew back on the video here. There he is. He made it back. Very excited.
Kelly, sorry about that. I was chomping at the bit, as you always know I am, in order to kind of talk a little bit about Dina, but can we just spend a second, though, and talk a little bit about what Dina had just said, because I think there's some amazing nuggets in there. And in the wake of this pandemic, I think it's become critically obvious how savvy customers are and how they can dictate the flow of our brand or what companies should do and conform to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adapt or die, right? That's the key. Adapt or die. And I tell you what, that was a TED Talk on how you can pivot, how you can adapt, and how your customers can ultimately find the direction that your brand should go. And I think she's an amazing talent and looks to be an amazing leader. First time I've ever met Dina, even virtually. Let's talk for a second, though, before we bring Josh on, because I do have some tests for Josh that I'm going to put him through. But I want to talk for a second about adapting or dying and about something my mother told me. Going off script here for a second. My mother told me, and it was not about digital marketing. It wasn't about video first solutions. It was about just the way we interact with people. And I believe it's important here. My mom told me we teach people how to treat us. Okay. And I've said that before in meetings and leadership calls when we're talking about brands. We teach people how to treat us. I'd like to put something up, if I might, because I know you're a baker, so I know you're going to like this.
I am.
So there is a new place out in Columbus, Ohio, which we are. Right? Go Bucks. Okay. It's called Crumble. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
So let me show something on my screen here. If you can see this, if you can see that, what that is right there, that is the ordering system at Crumble. Okay. And when we talk about creating a seamless connected commerce version in between the physical and the digital, this is how you order, okay? And we teach people how to treat us. So when I go into Crumble now, I make this order. It's very simple. I step up to the counter and I see this, right? So here's what I see now. That's it, right? Again, point of sale system here. Nobody takes my order anymore. They take it, it comes up on the screen, it comes out in this unbelievable packaging. But what are they doing, Kelly? What are they doing? They're teaching me, I'm teaching them how to treat me, and they're teaching me how to treat them. So now when I go and leave with my handheld device, I'm used to the same experience.
Yeah.
It's a seamless experience. I bring my phone in, it connects to the point of sale. I can pass my order. It keeps my loyalty. And then when I leave, same ordering, I just show up. Now I got to tell you, parking lot full. People just running out, handing boxes of cookies to people. Okay? Because they were keeping them, and it's an unbelievable, unforgettable experience. Why do I bring that up? Because I believe what Dina had just talked about adaptation. I believe about teaching people how to treat us. So adapting to the virtual world, adapting to live selling, and someone who's going to show us how they've adapted and they've pivoted is our friend Josh Looper, who is teaching people how to treat Motorola. And I think it's an unbelievable segue into the great work that he's doing. So tell us a little bit about Josh and what he can offer us, Kelly, on this show, and we bring him in. I'm gonna test him. Low energy.
I know you will.
But here we go.
I think it's so wonderful that we get to really showcase what our BDSers are doing here and doing in their everyday roles. And Josh Looper is one of those that we have had our eye on for the past year. He is the national trainer and content creator for the Motorola program at BDS. And he's really shifted from conducting in-person trainings, what we always thought was, never going away, to now recreating that experience online through virtual trainings, live streams, you name it. He was also one of our employees of the year for the field in 2020, and deservedly so. So we're going to bring him on, and I know, Andrew, you've got a lot to ask him. So I'm going to let him take.
Hey, Josh, just you and me, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you, buddy? Always good to see you, Josh. And I'm going to jump right into it because the story of 2021 is pivoting. Mm-hmm. The story that we just heard from Dina and from my own diatribe and my LinkedIn articles and Sean is highly competitive, adapt or die. So Josh, tell us what you were doing a year ago and what you're doing today, because you're the epitome of adaptation.
Okay, so I have been a moto agent for about 3.5 years with Motorola. We would go to stores and train in our specific regions. What I did a year ago was one of the coolest jobs ever. I got to drive the Motorola van. It was an experiential marketing program where I drive the van around the country, stop at different locations, Best Buys, Verizons, things like that, and I would get them excited about the products. It was awesome. So super cool to be able to share that excitement about each product without having to It's super awesome to be sorry, I got a lot of stuff coming in through my ears here. So it's super awesome to be able to share those products. And that's what I did is I drove the van around the country, got them all excited. And then, COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, I was like, well, what am I going to do? They were going to send me back to my market. And I'm like, oh no, my super fun, amazing job traveling the country, seeing all the national parks is no longer here. But now they asked me to, we need to do this pivot. We need to switch people to where we can learn online due to the pandemic. So what I did was I started doing webinars. I showed them that I could do webinars and get excitement around each product through a visual version. This is basically exactly how I would do it in a real situation. I'd have the phone. I would have it here. I'd be on a live stream just like this, and I'd be like, hey, check this thing out. You can do these cool features like chop.
Josh, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you just like I did in rehearsal. Okay? We're going to do real life scenario. I'm a customer, Josh. All right. Or I am an advocate in Motorola. I'm a store associate, and I get hit with this question all the time. Okay. I see, first of all, who didn't have a Motorola Razr? Oh, brings me back. Right. But now we got the new Motorola Razr. Josh, I don't know, man. I'm looking for a phone. And guys, this happens real time. So if you're listening at home or on the go or in the car, don't listen in the car, but just listen. Don't look in the car. But if you're at the job, this is what happens. So someone will call in and go, so I'm looking at this new Motorola Razr. Looks unbelievable. But now I'm thinking, so I've got a traditional experience, right, Josh? I'm online. I'm looking at Amazon. I'm looking at a direct-to-consumer Motorola. I'm looking at a third-party.com. Who cares where I am? I'm looking at this Motorola Razr, and I go, all right, it's the price point, maybe I'm a little nervous about it, okay? Mm-hmm. Then I click a button, and Josh, help me make that decision. Help me make that decision. So now I'm live. I'm live with Josh, and I go, I'm comparing phones. I got the budget. you're comparable. Tell me why I should buy a Motorola phone over somebody else, because I don't know what to do.
Motorola has been around for almost 100 years, 1928. They made the very first cell phone call, the very first technology in this world. They've been creating this for a long time. They know where it comes from, what needs to be researched and developed to make something special. The Motorola Razr was an amazing piece of technology that everybody had to have. So with this, they took around 10 years of research and development to perfect a piece of technology to make something different. So you don't have to just, and I'm going to say this, like the same slab of technology in your hand. You're going to grab something special that stands out from the crowd and still gives you your daily use. Okay. So
I know, I see it folds though. Don't mean to cut you off. Real time, by the way, guys. That's what happens. I see it folds. Can you see a seam? Can I see a seam there? Is it pretty?
That's the best part about this is the Lenovo technology and Motorola technology built into this allows you to close it and open it without having a giant seam in the middle. That takes time, and that takes education and learning and engineering to build something like that. So instead of just giving you a piece of technology, yes, it's going to cost a little bit more for something new to the industry that no other brand can offer you. That is where this comes from. A quick view display that's going to give you watching your TV shows, connecting with people, phone calls and text messages, all from the front without even having to open it up. You just
How's it going to work overseas? I got to travel overseas. Pretty straightforward.
Universally unlocked.
What?
Universally unlocked. Yep. You just work it on whatever you want.
Josh, fantastic, right? That's why you're good at what you do. But for the people watching, that's real. You can't replicate that. You cannot replicate that through a traditional digital experience. So the combination of connecting that commerce between a expert and your .com, and then taking that experience in store, which we'll talk about later, and experiential, which we'll talk about later with Lynetta, that's fantastic. Josh, because I know you're a live streaming expert, and I know a lot of people are trying to get into it. So we just did a live call there. We pretended it was fine, but that's exactly what it looks like. But then you're also doing a lot of live streaming. Tell us a little bit about what the top 3 tips are, and if a brand is ready to enter the world of live streaming, which is what we're doing right now, give us a little bit of the inside story, buddy.
When it comes down to the way I look at it is not everybody's going to know the technical side right off the bat. It's all about having the energy and the brand passion for the product. That's number one. If you choose somebody that has the tech, but gets up there and they're like, I just don't, you know what, this is the phone. You have to have somebody that's going to energize and excite and educate the customer. And that's first and foremost. So guys, pick somebody on your team, find somebody new, it doesn't matter, that has that energy and passion around your product. That is number one. Number two, I'd say make sure that that you give them the time if they're not super educated on all of the tech side of it. Just be like, hey, take some time, learn the products, learn how to use the cameras, learn how to live stream using the open broadcasting software. There's a lot of free stuff out there, and there's a lot of paid stuff. I use the free stuff. It's easy and it works.
OBS, right? That's what you're using.
OBS. Yep, I use OBS, and I use right now I'm using a Panasonic Lumix camera. You can connect that to a computer using a Cam Link or several other even bigger things. That makes it to where it's easy for me to have a professional, high quality camera without breaking a budget if I needed to, right? Or you can make it even easier if a company's like, I'm not buying an $800, $1,000 camera. Guess what you have in your hand? Almost everybody. This guy will work for everybody as a webcam. So you're not having to use, like, my webcam on my gaming computer is awful, but this is amazing. I have a 108 megapixel camera. It works great. I would say that's another thing, is making sure you have the product demo stuff ready, a backdrop. Like I have my Hello Moto here. I like to use this, and just putting them in the mix of saying, go for it. I'm on Amazon.com sometimes with the show that I run, and I've actually gotten sales from me just being up there and talking about a phone. Just be like, check it out. Look what I'm doing. Getting excited.
I don't get sold very often. You're selling me right now. I'm not just saying that, but I think you've hit the nail on the head, and I want to talk about that for a second. You know, people talk about people, process, and technology, right? And that's what you have to look at when you're looking to do anything innovative. Look at your people, look at your process, look at your technology. I think what you hit the nail on the head on is, and we talked a little bit about process and of course the technology, which you got into, but the people. I'll tell you one thing that I don't tell a lot of people, but as a big baseball player in my younger career, my younger life, and I always look at the best teammates and I go, boy, I'm glad you're on our team. I'm glad you're on our team. I'll say that to you, Josh. I'm glad you're on our team, because I will tell you, your passion is infectious, but I think you're dead on right. if you could have the best tech, the best process, but with the wrong people, not going to work. And you're out there training, right? You use your live streaming to train field, to try to get people to do as best you can, because it's innate. You got to thank your mother for that. But some of it's innate, but you're doing your best to use this live streaming to train people to try to be this, right?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Hundreds of people. So especially, let's say, like last week, I did a webinar with Cricket Wireless people hopped on, and, you know, I had to share with them and excite them about one of our phones, our Moto G Power. If they didn't have me, they might not be, as well as we don't have a Moto agent in every single part of the country. So it's not in some of those little smaller towns across the country. That's what I did with the Moto Van. But guess what? The Moto Van's gone. So how do we reach those smaller towns that have those stores, whatever carrier it is, to get them educated on our product? So, because all we want is to be able to say, hey, just share with them this device and how it has an up to 3-day battery on it. What other device is going to give you that? And if they don't know, then yeah, they're just gonna be like, well, just get this phone because it's what you're used to. No, we want to educate them so that they share what could be the better product for them, and they could have the best experience out there.
Yeah, I got to tell you, we got to make this show longer, because I could talk to you for forever. I know we've got Lynetta from Experiential waiting in the wings, and I do not want to miss the opportunity to give her as much time as she needs, because there's going to be some great stuff there. But Josh, I had a couple more questions, but I do want to close it out with one, because I know you host you're very involved with the TapAttack solution, which is that kind of on-demand video concierge, which we had just talked about, that assists with the sale. Tell me a little bit about that on-demand direct-to-consumer video. Just wrap it up for me with some of the biggest wins and some of the coolest things that you've seen.
I mean, some of the coolest things from TapAttack is just having that customer call in. Sometimes, you know, right now we don't have it set up for them to have video. We have video, and we're able to share with them just like we were in the store, but even easier because you don't have all the different things going on in the store. The rep gets busy or all this. You just have your phone there, and you're able to say, hey, check this out. I'm going to flip the camera, and boom, you get to see a live demo instantly. Not on a live stream. You get a personal one-on-one with someone to educate them, or to be educated on the device. So that's where it comes from. I've gotten more sales from some of the things that we've done with live streams and TapAttack. We've gotten different opportunities to just educate that consumer, because they might not ever know about half the features that we have on our phone, or they might just be looking at it as like, it's not the same as what I'm used to. I'm not going to purchase that. All they need is that little bit of education. And that's where I think TapAttack really makes a difference. Is there's people that don't walk in the door, that don't walk into stores anymore. And on a normal day, they wouldn't walk in the stores. And now we get to hit those customers that want to be educated but don't go to stores.
Josh, I could sit here and talk to you for an hour longer. Fantastic. And I will end it with, I am glad you're on our team. Great work with the Moto brand. Great work being innovative, and unbelievable job pivoting. With that, goodbye, Josh. And we're going to welcome another person who has pivoted amazingly in 2020 and beyond. But let's bring Kelly back in here. We'll do a little introduction of our next guest. Amazing Josh is, isn't he?
I mean, so much energy. I want to bottle it up and take it with me everywhere I can go. He's just amazing to chat with, and such great insights on live streaming. I've even learned a few things from him. Yeah, we could chat with him all day long, I think.
I know we are going to run late, but for those of you who are with us, and we've reached an all-time high here in the live streaming, I think we've got some amazing numbers, but I believe you guys are all hanging on for our next guest. Please stay with us. It's going to go a little bit over, but I'm telling you right now, she is an amazing pivoter, outstanding experiential marketer, a better person. But let's talk a little bit about what she's doing before we bring her on. But Kelly, have at it.
Yeah, well, live experiences share a lot in common with virtual experiences, right? Which is why today we have Lynetta Pezzatini, who's VP of MAG, BDS's experiential team, on to talk through the journey that she has just gone through over the past year and going into this year to develop a brand new, I mean, out of this world virtual event solution for brands such as Microsoft, Facebook, Google, you name it. She's done it. So she's just has this unique passion for events. When you talk to her, and you'll get to see this and experience it firsthand, you'll see her passion. I love chatting with her. I get so many ideas just in our conversations. And she just always has a pulse on what's new and on the horizon to come out. So The other great thing about Lynetta is she is also a BDS Annual Award winner for 2020, having received what is called the Bulldog Award. Now, this was awarded to an employee that just powered through quite a year, and every year we give it to an employee that just is like a bulldog. They push through everything, they keep going, they come out even stronger than before. So with that, let's bring Lynetta on, right? Bring her in. We're excited to have her.
Lynetta Pezzettini, I brought the little pet dispenser for you. There it is. But you're filled up with a lot better treats than this little guy is. So welcome to the show.
Andrew, you couldn't have gotten a better looking Pez dispenser. You picked Chewbacca for me? Really?
That's the best chicken I get. Lynetta, I'm going to jump right in because I want the guests to hear from you, and I just want to put my pen down. You know, some people say, I know you're not a rock star, but they go, we're not worthy, right? The old Wayne's World. I say that with the most sincerity that I can. I have no idea how we are still talking after the year you guys should have just had an experience where the whole idea is the social, personal connection and the ability that you guys had to pivot and to be something that is just amazing is absolutely short of. You won the Bulldog Award, but outside of that, you and your company are nothing short of amazing of what you've been able to do. So I'm just going to jump into it and say you faced all that uphill battle. COVID hit. 2020 was going to be the year of experience. You had all this work teed up, all these events, all these shows, all this everything. Slam. What did it feel like? Did you know you were going to pivot? How you were going to pivot? And take us through that moment and how you powered through it.
Oh man, Andrew, have you ever been punched in the gut so hard where you like black out for a second and you lose your breath? Yeah,
I feel like Andrew could say yes to that.
I was gonna say I never have, but I think that finding out that COVID was hitting and changing our industry, that it was that exact moment. For a moment of shock, uncertainty, where do we go from here? But then just like getting the wind knocked out of you, you quickly recover, and you move on from there. That's exactly what we did at MAG. And I want to make sure that I say, you guys did that amazing tee up about the Bulldog Award, but in my eyes, that wasn't just me, that was the entire team on the experiential team. Everyone was a Bulldog in 2020. So you asked what we had to do.
Go ahead. Say something because I'm not going to disclose anything, and we're a privately held company and all that kind of stuff. But I am obviously a good friend and a partner with your leader, who is Jonathan Margolis, and we review budgets and everything. And we go, you guys are out of the gate already exceeding budgets and projections for 2021, which is hands down unbelievable. How are you doing it to pivot and create memorable experiences when you just can't be there anymore?
Yeah. Well, I think we needed to lean into what we knew, Andrew. So our team is really good at producing events. We're really good at getting creative and theming and helping brands tell stories with that theme. And we're really good at developing content, either videos or decks, presentations. So we leaned into that, but then we also had to lean into what we didn't know, right? And set a foundation. So like step one, how do you produce a virtual event? I'm kind of kidding, but not really. I've never produced a virtual event before, sitting here now that I've produced 28 since last March. But how do you work to build content that's going to be engaging and compete with everything else that consumers or your audience has going on at home, right? And how do you train your speakers to be able to deliver that content in a way where they are not seeing anyone's reactions and they're not hearing their feedback, but they still need to land that message. And if you're doing breakouts for trainings, how are you making sure that they're hands-on and engaging and replicating that in-person experience? And really two things, Andrew, I think that we did really well to kind of set that foundation, bringing us into 2021, is we acted quickly. Brands couldn't wait to see what could be done. They had to do what they thought should be done. And we're lucky that we had clients to take that leap of faith with us. Within a month, we were working with some of our clients. We were supposed to be doing this huge training event at the Bellagio in Vegas. And that was kind of that, oh crap moment when I got the call from her of we're canceling that entire contract, but we're still doing the events on a platform that we know. And we want to send the experience home to everyone. So within that month, we were doing experience kits, shipping out to everyone to bring the experience home to them. We were also trying to figure out how we're filling that void, right? 2020 was about filling the void we were all filling. If we've learned anything from 2020, it's that people crave interaction and experiences, and people need people. So how did we develop that? And how did we think about that as we were thinking about the events that we were planning? And we actually introduced our solution, Virtual You, which was bringing folks together in a world as avatars, where it was the closest thing to an in-person experience. You could be walking past someone and stop and have a conversation. You could see people raising your hands. You could get into those breakout rooms. And we filled the void while knowing that void that we had to fill pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was happy because I did a couple of those virtual events. There wasn't a setting that said add COVID pounds. I appreciate you guys not putting that on there. Otherwise, my wife would have made me tick that box. So I got to be pre-COVID Andrew through the virtual events. Kelly, I think you have a question.
Yeah, well, it's easy to reminisce about the past and about the year that you've had. Obviously, it's it turned into a banner year, but I'm more of a future forward kind of gal. So I really want to talk about what does this landscape look like going forward this year and even beyond? How are you guys evolving your strategies to accommodate for the rapid change in this event space, especially within this year where, we're starting to open, already in some places? How are you guys dealing with that and adjusting as you go along?
Yeah. Well, when you're creating an event, we need to be tapped into what is authentically true for our audience, right? So in a way that people can feel it, that increases the likelihood that people are going to carry it with them after that event ends. So with that, we need to think about this past year and the habits that we've adopted. I mean, you could truly do anything from sitting on your couch wearing your pajamas, which I'm definitely guilty of. Instant access to content, right? We developed this on-demand mentality where you can get anything at the snap of your fingers. So we need to lean into those habits and make sure that we're carrying those as we start to go back to in real life. But I think the biggest thing is you cannot stand still or stay in your comfort zone. Things that were highly successful at the beginning of the pandemic, they now feel stale, and customers or audiences, they're moving on, and you have to continue to innovate.
We haven't decided, Lynetta, whether pivot or hybrid is going to be the most used word in 2021. But we do know that event marketers are calling out the fact that a hybrid solution will be absolutely paramount for experiential events and strategies in 2021. What are you guys currently doing to bridge that gap?
Yeah, it was funny earlier on when you were saying that pivot was the word of 2020 or on mute was the word of 2020. Hybrid is definitely the word of 2021. And quite frankly, I'm already sick of hearing it, but I guess I need to get over that because it's what it is. But it's true. Right now, everyone is talking about 3 approaches for experiential marketing: virtual, in-person, and hybrid in-person. And personally, I think that solo in-person needs to be knocked out of the trio, because you could not do an in-person event without a virtual overlay right now. I think that the pandemic accelerated the experiential industry by 10 years. Yeah. Virtual was always a thought, but it was never really a necessity, or people were scared to do it, but now it's a must. You cannot plan in person without that virtual. And you said in your question, Andrew, that 68% of event marketers reported, right? That was the stat, 68% reported a hybrid solution will play a key role in planning. But what was interesting to me is I was reading an article the other day, and 86, I think it was, because the numbers were flipped, 86% of people are interested in attending a blended experience. And that's huge. And that's a bigger number, because planning an event for both in-person and at-home audiences is going to impact the experience overall. So your audience needs to be on board with that.
Well, as you run we run sister divisions of digital and experiential, and I told your boss the other day, I said, as long as there's a digital sprinkle in all of these, we need some of that cheddar too, okay? So you make it hybrid has got to have a total digital overlay, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Actually, that brings me to one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, Lynetta, which is, we're really here to talk about connected commerce today overall, and this is just one aspect of it. So, let's talk about how important is it for your events, whether they're in person, virtual, or both, to have those multiple marketing touch points, the digital pieces, everything like that. I know you guys are layering a lot of that into your event strategies.
Yeah, it's not only important, Kelly, it's a must.
Yeah.
When you're planning an event, you need to bring the FOMO. And I think my parents are watching. So FOMO means fear of missing out, in case anyone didn't know.
Thanks for explaining that, just in case.
But how are you getting in front of your customer before the event to get them excited, to tease it? How are you resonating with them on site to make that lasting impression? And what are you giving them to take home so that they can continue to fall in love with the brand, post about it, etc.? For example, say that you are trying to launch a new TV and you want to get your retail sales associates excited. So what is your teaser? Sending store kits that are branded, T-shirts, lanyards that they could wear, something for the back of their phone so it's in everyone's faces. What's that lasting experience? Hopefully, when we get back to in person, it's a mobile truck that is driving to every single one of those stores so they could get the hands-on experience with the product before it's even in store. And if we're looking at a virtual spin of that, Tap-a-Tech, like Joshua was talking about earlier, having them call in to speak to a rep live so that they could get that hands-on involvement. And then whether it is the mobile truck or whether it is Tap-a-Tech, also getting something in front of them that they're taking home, they are scanning a QR code, and an AR experience is allowing them to take that new TV that you're promoting. They see it, a video's playing about the best products, what they could do about it, the best features, and that's when you're developing a fan. And that excitement that you're resonating with those RSAs is then going to be relayed back to the customers that they interact with.
Sometimes I forget we're on a live show, and then I just want a car and start working meetings with you. So I'm going to jump to the last question, but what if we did a QR code that was basically the VIP after party, but it was only a digital offer when you left an in-person event? So for an intimate VIP party, take this QR code, scan it with your phone, and it goes off in an hour, but you got to leave with it. I'm going to give that
right ideas right here.
I'm giving that one to you for free.
Sign me up for the testing of that. I will be there. Wine and hand.
Basically, it's your little path, but it's a QR code anyway. I'm not going to embarrass myself trying to bring experiential ideas to the master. But as I said, I'm always trying to get in there with a little bit of digital. So let's go to my last wrap-up question for you, Lynetta. And I thank you so much for hanging on with us and giving us a little extra time out of your day. But let's go into the results, because we've already talked about, I had another question here teed up about what are they going to look like, how when it opens back up. But I think you talked about them being hybrid, and I think you talked about, being a blend of both. So I'd like to spend a little bit more time on the key takeaways. So we always promise our audience, what with the events you're seeing lately, what's working, what's not, and what takeaways can you share that you can leave with our audience here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is that you need to try something new. As I said before, 2020, people are fatigued. You do not want to bring that mentality into 2021. But with that being said, you need to fill the void. Not only, we talked about that for 2020, but there is a serious void for 2021 right now as well, right? As we start to see people get vaccinated and things get back to normal, we still need to deliver right now. So introducing something new that's going to have longevity. What are you getting in front of your brands now? Or as a brand, what are you getting in front of your customers, your team? What habit are you creating at the beginning of 2021 that you could carry through to that in-person event? So definitely introducing something new. I think that you also need to understand the new hierarchy of attendee needs. So what I mean by that is, if you think back to pre-COVID, right? Planning an event, content was king, then came networking, then came entertainment. It's kind of flipped on its head right now. So like the first thing that you need to plan for is a meaningful connection. You can't do anything. People are going to be craving that. You can't do anything that's going to be a Zoom call, right? Or something that's not meaningful and purposeful. Entertainment, I think, is two. We over-entertained in 2020 to make up for virtual, and we need to keep that energy up. And then content is third, because yes, of course, the end goal is to deliver on your objectives, but if you don't land meaningful connection and entertainment, people won't pay attention to your content. And I think oh, sorry. I had one more. Wait, that's okay.
Give us one more, Lynetta. Give us one more.
With the content, even though it's last, you need to do a reset. You need to understand how everything was being delivered in 2020. And you can't go back to the normal keynote, breakout, rinse and repeat. You need to adapt what worked, those nuggets that worked in your revamp of 2020, and carry them through. So shorter sessions will prevail, shorter interactions will prevail.
Yeah.
I call this out, and Lynetta, I want to thank you, because I go back to something Dina said. I go back to what I posted in the LinkedIn article. I go back to what we talk about. Adapt or fail, we know that. We need to find and discover new ways to engage our customers. And I think I love the fact that you talked about content. I love the fact that you brought up the shampoo reference, which I love, which is rather wash, rinse, repeat. That the old playbook is out the door, and we have to find a way to re-engage with our customers. Again, congratulations on the Bulldog Award. Thank you for staying with us over time here. And Lynetta, I think the world of you, but I am so proud of what you guys are doing, and I wouldn't wish success on anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So great. Oh,
Kelly,
my goodness.
Fantastic. And I know we're over time.
We
so
are.
Let's get through the wrap up and get these people on with their days so they can start applying some of these nuggets, shall we?
Absolutely. Well, as many of you know, BDS, we launched this HypeHour in the thick of the pandemic last year, and we're doing it all again this year with a whole new slate of conversations just like the one we had today. So in the coming months, stay tuned for 3 more live streams happening this year, once a quarter. The first one's going to be about the rebirth of the store environment and what that means for retail, and then how to creatively influence sales with digital and social. And then the last one on the bucket list is creating the ultimate connection with brand advocacy and experiential. These are all the things you're going to need in your connected commerce playbook, and we're going through all of them this year. So I'm super excited about that. Plus, we have a new spinoff of the HypeHour. Yes, we do, on YouTube, called Hype Bites, where we will actually be chatting with industry experts, business leaders, longtime BDS connections, and we get the scoop on how they're leading their businesses through this new age of retail, sales, and marketing. And the idea is that, you get to walk away feeling just even more inspired to take action in your own business. So keep following us on social for more updates around those, and when you can tune in for our next HypeHour coming up in the late spring, early summer.
With that, Kelly, it's always a pleasure to spend this time with
Absolutely.
you. And I completely am thankful for our guests, Dina, Josh, Lynetta, and for all the hard work that the people do behind the scenes. Mitch, Rachel, Kate, Kelly, everybody, thank you. I'd like to leave you with 3 final thoughts, if I might. Don't forget from this episode, your customer dictates what you should do as a brand. Don't forget that, okay? It's like a flowing river. You can't control it. You can only hope to shift it, all right? But it's coming, and you have to adapt or fail. That's number 2. And number 3, and thank you, Ms. Friedman, for telling me this, we teach people how to treat us. Okay? Start teaching your customer how to treat you. But don't allow someone who says, Lynetta made the statement, my mom and my dad are on the call, what FOMO means. She tells them once, she can use the word again, and they'll get it. Adapt or fail. We teach people how to treat us, and our customer is the voice we need to be listening to, and don't forget to listen to it. With that, thank you all for tuning in. Kelly, always a pleasure to spend this time with you.
Yes.
Goodbye from the Hive, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.